It's time for This Week in Falcons Athletics, presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin. And this week, we highlight both football, but first, field hockey as they get ready for a big matchup in conference play coming up at Tomasini Stadium on Saturday. 12 o'clock start against the Marian University Sabres. Happy to be joined by Emily Robertson, a sophomore midfielder on the field hockey team. And let's start by just talking about your time now with the Falcons from your freshman year to your sophomore year. What's maybe been the biggest difference for you from year one to year two?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, year one coming in, I had a really good support system. Our seniors were great. And then now transitioning to a younger team, we have 3 upperclassmen. So it's been kind of nice just to step in, kind of have that experience. I felt a lot of growth, and my confidence has definitely gotten better from last season.
So you talk about being one of the more experienced players on this roster. Has your role changed a great deal?
A little bit, yeah. It's nice. We have 5 freshmen who came in this year, and it's been nice just kind of to be that person for them to come in if they have questions, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's been great.
You came through with your 3rd career goal, first of this season at Denison. How did that goal develop?
Yeah, it was great. It was off of a corner play. Went to Caitlin. She shot it, bounced off a goalie's pads. I was just in the right place at the right time and was able to get the rebound. So it felt nice. It was good. You
look at some of your stats so far, and you've had an impact on both ends of the field. You look at Sunday against center, coming through with a couple of defensive saves. What's maybe the thought process, the strategy, and coming through with a defensive save?
Yeah, I mean, there's times I'm marking that player who's on the post, the ball slips past our goalie, and again, I'm just in the right place at the right time, just sticks down, ready to get it away from the goal.
You've talked about, when you look at the breakdown of this roster, adding 5 freshmen to the current roster. How has the chemistry been developing in these first few weeks?
Our team chemistry is great. I mean, right away off the bat during preseason, we clicked. And then having 2 away weekends in Ohio, we had a lot of time on the bus just to bond, get closer, and we're all like one big family and best friends. So it's great to see that on and off the field.
I'm guessing from a playing standpoint, you got to believe the team is getting better. Okay, forget about wins and losses, but you guys have been battle-tested both in conference and non-conference.
Yeah, it's definitely nice playing more difficult teams. That helps us like learn from them, develop. We've seen, I mean, against Mary Washington, obviously the score wasn't what we wanted, but there were some things that we talked about after the game as a team, and then coming in against center, we implemented those, and that's what's really nice about having a young team. There's so much active growth going on, so just being able to see like that growth reflected from one game to right in the next day, it's really nice to see how dedicated we are.
Let me ask you about that loss to center 1-0 on Sunday in the rain. And that's not a bad result. Obviously, you hate to lose, but that's a quality center team only losing 1-0. In your opinion, what was the difference in that loss?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a hard fight. They had to fight for their goal. I mean, the goal differential from when we played them last year to this year is definitely a big change. So it sucks, obviously, being on the losing end of that, but we saw a lot of great things and just excited to take those great things and level them up to this upcoming weekend.
Did the rain play a factor at all? Obviously, it was kind of a nagging rain throughout the entire matchup.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I like playing in the rain. It's fun. It gives me that little bit of an adrenaline rush, but I don't think it really affected us too much. We had a rain delay, so it kind of gave us more time before the game to really like lock in, see what we need to get ready for. And yeah, I mean, I think that was just something that happened, but it didn't really affect us as a team.
Let's wrap it up by talking about Saturday again, a 12 noon start at Tomasini Stadium, wrapping up a 3-match homestand. You take on a Marian team, the only 2 Wisconsin field hockey collegiate programs going at it. You've seen them already. You guys saw them back in August. That was a 3-2 setback. What do you expect from Marian? I know you guys want to beat them.
Yeah, definitely a big rivalry with Marian. We know what to expect. It's going to be fun playing them on our home turf. We're very optimistic and very ready to play them on Saturday. We got some things we need to fine-tune this week in practice, but again, we're a very motivated team. We put in a lot of effort, so I think we're going to have a really great outcome on Saturday.
Emily, thanks for your time. All the best of the field hockey team.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And again, you can see them in action on Saturday at 12 noon from Tomasini Stadium against Marian. When we continue, we will highlight football as they are back in action. They get going in conference play at Benedictine on Saturday as we continue with This Week in Falcons Athletics, presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin.
I can't imagine being any other profession than an orthopedic surgeon. We have the privilege and we have the responsibility to make people better. We've been fortunate enough to take care of professional athletes. We've also been fortunate enough to take care of our neighbors and friends who trust us to give them back their life.
One of the main reasons I came here was because this is the way healthcare is meant to be delivered. Being devoted exclusively to orthopedic care means that we can focus on delivering specialized care for every patient. And that includes not only the surgeons and the physicians, but also anesthesia, controlling pain, the nurses, and the scrub techs and everyone in recovery is dedicated to treating conditions that are very similar for people.
Our tagline is an uncommon focus on you. We think the focus on the patient experience is what sets us apart. Before we make any process or clinical decision at the hospital, we start with the same question: is this what's best for the patient? If we can't answer yes, we move on to the next idea. Our nurses provide care for no more than 3 patients per shift, whereas other facilities, they might provide care for 7 or even 8 patients per shift. We think this personalized care is what sets us apart from others.
I think that dedication to our patients is our #1 focus. And you can technically do a good operation, but if you're not centered on the patient, they're not necessarily going to have a great outcome.
The Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin is physician-owned. It's physician-led. We have the responsibility to make the right decision for every patient. We also have the freedom to make the right decision for every patient.
Physicians and staff collaborate through regular meetings, weekly and monthly, and with a relatively small team, we're able to change the way we do things if we need to tweak something to make it perfect.
The facility specifically was designed so that quality could be measured and maintained and sustained. When you have 7,000 patients a year receive their surgery here, it's important that patient number 1 and patient number 7,000 receive the same care.
We place an extremely high priority on the patient experience here. We send surveys to each and every person that receives care at our hospital. Those survey results come back directly to me. I review them and share them with our senior leadership, as well as the staff and the physicians that provide the care to those patients.
There's almost 5,000 hospitals in the country that are measured. The Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin measures number 1, not number 2, not number 3, not runner-up, number 1 in patient satisfaction in the state of Wisconsin for the last 10 years running.
Welcome back to This Week in Falcons Athletics, presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin. We now focus on football and being joined by senior defensive back Gio Nolatarski. Football team coming off a victory back on September the 14th and knocking off first-year Kelvin by the final score of 34-24. And you look at that victory, in your opinion, what was the difference in that win?
Honestly, I didn't really know what I was expecting going into it. I was excited, I was anxious, I was nervous because we have such a young team and we lost so many of those big players that we had from last year. So it was kind of exciting just to see how we were going to be as a unit and how we were going to fight against adversity. And I think in the second half, that's what really stood out to me was these young group of guys that we have really are stepping up and that we were able to face adversity, being down and then coming back and then taking the lead and keeping it for the rest of the game.
Obviously, for you, your focus is more on the defensive side and special teams. But how about from an offensive standpoint? Were you surprised by the balance you saw from the offense?
Honestly, I am not surprised by their outstanding performance. Just because, in practice they have been doing amazing. There's been a lot of days where they're getting the best of the defense. I hate to say it, but they're doing their job, and they have a great group of guys. They communicate, they talk, they know what to do better every single week, and I think you can see that translate from practice onto the field. So it wasn't surprising from us to see that from them.
Yeah, for the offense, 245 rushing yards, 221 passing yards. How about for you, coming off a season in which you were named second team all-conference, your first game with 3 tackles, had a fumble recovery return, 30 yards for a touchdown, had a pick as well. Your thoughts on the way you played in week 1?
Overall, there's always ways to improve. We went back and film. There's ways I got to get better in position. But overall, obviously, those are the great things that stand out, and I see those things. But at the end of the day, I always go back to the drawing board, and I'm asking what I can do better as a player individually so that I can help not only the defense but overall the whole team.
For those of us not athletic and will never get the opportunity to experience this, what is that feeling like when you pick up that loose football and all of a sudden you got nothing but turf in front of you, the end zone? Is it one of those? Is it a great feeling? Is it one of those, please don't screw this up? Well, what's going through your mind?
It's a little bit of everything because in the moment it almost feels like too good to be true. It's like there's no way that it's just this open and the ball is just right there. But as it's happening, I can't hear anything. It's like they're completely blacked out. It doesn't matter how loud everyone is, but it's definitely a cool feeling then when you finally realize you're like, oh, that just happened, finally. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sounds like a scene from a movie. All of a sudden the crowd just, goes blank. You look at your accolades, being named the NAC Special Teams Player of the Week last week. What does that mean to you?
I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it without like Coach Federico and the coaches pushing us in practice. I mean, we emphasize that special teams is a huge part of the game. It helps us win games. A lot of teams maybe forget that and they think offense and defense wins, which obviously it does. Like that translates to winning and scoring. But special teams plays is one way to help like flip the field, one way to completely shift the momentum from one way of the game, how it's going to another. And I think being able to do that in our game is also what helped us get that win on Saturday, because we were able to have great punts, have great kicks, pin them in the back of the end zone, get those, get that fumble recovery, and I think that's what helped translate from practice all the way to the game.
It's been well documented. It's been kind of a unique start to the season. You obviously can't control the scheduling changes, so the first game was September the 14th. Then the scheduled bye week was this past Saturday. So how did you guys focus, that bye week, but also now preparing for Benedictine?
Right away after Sunday, we went over that film, and it's done and over with after Sunday. Great win, but we have to move on to the next week. And we talked over about Benedictine, what their game plans are, and what we need to do to focus on them. And they're a great team, and it's always going to be a good battle between us two. And we know that coming in, and especially with them being our first conference game, it's a big stand to show what team, like what we are, what we're made of, and how we're going to set the course for the rest of the season. So yeah.
Eagles off to a 3-0 start, 1-0 in conference play. So that matchup coming up at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Team won't be home again until against Aurora on the 12th of October. What do you expect from Benedictine from an offensive standpoint?
They always have ballers on their team. We know that. They have a great scheme. But at the end of the day, we're just going to continue to play Falcon football and go back to the drawing board, do what works, talk about what schemes we need to go over. They have some good players, good backs, good receivers. Just like any normal football team, they're going to be ready to play football, but so are we.
Finally, for you, obviously the team goals of winning a conference championship, getting back to the NCAA playoffs, but do you have personal goals for your senior season?
Just overall to be the best leader I can be for the younger guys coming up. Like I say, and a lot of people don't realize, we do have a very, very young roster. I think we have a total of like 12 seniors. So, I mean, we are going to be missing guys eventually next year, obviously, but we do have young guys on the team. So I think just being able to be that leader for them, setting the example, what the standard is, what our pride concept is, just to do the little things right, and that's going to help lead our program in the right direction moving forward with the younger guys we have.
Well, Gio, all the best to you and the football team this week down in Lisle, Illinois.
Thank you.
And this week for Falcons athletics, you look at women's volleyball. They will be back here inside the John Book Fieldhouse tonight to wrap up a 3-match homestand. They serve up set one of the best of 5 at 7 o'clock versus Lake Forest. Also getting conference play resuming at Lakeland on Thursday at 7. Also of note, men's soccer is home against Wisconsin Lutheran 4 o'clock from Fitting Field on Wednesday. The women's team will be at Wisconsin Lutheran Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And then Sunday, both teams will be at Rockford for a men's and women's soccer doubleheader. That's it for this week in Falcons athletics presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin.